If not for a handful of notes, the story of Ish could be lost. By the time players reach the sewers, they've already experienced the worst the post-apocalyptic world has to offer. And even with newfound friends Sam and Henry, the imminent threat of death looms around every corner. And his name is Joel. Yes, despite being the game's central protagonist, he will commit shocking acts of brutality against zombie-like monsters as well as other human beings, in self-defense, but also acts of aggression. Which is why the story of Ish is so especially inspiring. Locating the first note on a beached boat, players learn of a man who went to sea, hoping the cordyceps infection and the ensuing chaos would end, but reluctantly rejoined society after running out of supplies. But the general tone is one of good humor, acceptance, and determination. If you happen to find my skeleton, please don't step on my skull. Thanks, is how he closes out his journal entry, seemingly self-aware that at any moment someone could discover his diary, as we have so many others so far. This leads us to the sewers, an elaborate maze of sound traps and infected humans. As we learn, Ish fashioned a home here, using the many gates for defense. As he says, "I may not be tough, but I am quick," and he's also remarkably intelligent. As Ellie and crew explore this makeshift hideout, they return to the same question: how on earth could something so perfect fall apart? The third note explores Ish's first contact with what will become the residents of the sewers, a group of survivors with children. He trades bullets for food and muses on letting them live with him. What's the point in surviving if you don't have someone to laugh at your corny jokes? Again, nothing about this scenario is worthy of levity, yet Ish has the audacity to maintain a sense of humor and going so far as to help others. And this is highlighted in a note written by a man named Kyle, who calls Ish that skinny man, far from the ideal survivor. He says the only reason he trusts me is because I have kids. Children are a main theme of The Last of Us and the clearest identifier between good and evil. And no, that's not to imply cartoonish villainy, but children within a complete societal collapse suffer the same consequences as everyone else. More so, in fact, given the support network often required to raise a child cannot function during a traumatic calamity. It can certainly heal afterwards, but the damage must be stopped. For the hunters who willingly track and kill other humans, children simply don't have anything of value, and they take up too many resources. Counter that cold-hearted philosophy to Ish's fourth note, apologetically informing a woman named Susan that he gave her children water pistols. And in a rather organic bit of writing, Ish tells her he can take them back if she wants. Now, to younger viewers, this might not seem like a big deal, but an adult giving toys to a child is reaching a boundary of familiarity, and Ish's willingness to be the bad guy, if need be, and take the water guns back is another act of kindness towards the children and Susan. But by note 5, all is gone. The entire society Ish, Kyle, and Susan built was completely wiped out, all because someone left a door open. Kyle, trapped in a room with the children, decides to humanely end their lives before the monsters can break through. Among them is the biological children of Susan. Ish wishes he could give up, but he knows too well, especially after the society in the sewers, that humans are worth saving, and he wants to live for her and the children they did rescue along the way. Or at least that's what he claims. Because before the children, before Susan, before the sewers, Ish was just a very smart man who went to sea. The boat, while beached, could certainly have been returned to the water if Ish had wanted. By the time he was trading with Kyle, he had created the most secure location within tens of miles. Ish is a total loner, and seemingly shouldn't be so invested in the future of society. And yet, he returned to create one. It seemed like no matter what, Ish kept finding new excuses not to give up. And it's no coincidence that shortly after players read these notes, Sam and Henry's story tragically ends in both of their lives being snuffed out within seconds of each other. It could naturally lead to one asking, what's the point? Ish does not deny the past, nor does he deny the future. His first note mocks his own inevitable death as he sailed into the apocalypse. And this is perhaps best articulated from the perspective of a children's drawing. Our protectors. We see a man, Danny, with his hands at the ready on a firearm. Meanwhile, Ish looks practically like a stick figure, keeping his gun at the back and arching his shoulders forward. There's a very good chance that the child who drew this was in the room with Kyle. So what's the point? Ish refuses to entertain that idea. The point of the past was made when it was the present. We can examine it, learn from it, celebrate it, and mourn its loss. But we can't change it. And Ish is a man who only focuses on what he can change. Even after losing everyone and everything as a result of his own kindness, he still believes in love. Because if the sewers would have been the end of his life, at least he would have made his life and the world around him that much better. Now, it is worth noting that The Last of Us has both been praised and criticized for its use of children as a motif, as it's a deeply sensitive subject that can easily tip into emotional manipulation. But sadly, the story of Ish isn't nearly as fictional as we would like to believe. Throughout history, mankind and its many societies have faced numerous catastrophes, some of which ended entire cultures. But some people somewhere survived, and together with countless other strangers, endured the tragedy, creating a new family and working together to prevent it from happening again. And if somehow the children of Ish survive today, there's a good chance they'll work towards the same goal of building a society where the small joys of lame jokes and water pistols can defeat the darkness. Anyway, that's going to do it for this bite-sized lore. How about letting us know what you think happened to Ish, as canonically there's no answer. And what do you think this has to do with the overall themes of The Last of Us, including the controversial ending? Chat back with us in the comments below. Keep clicking around here on Game Rant, and we'll see you next time.